everyone, Carrington here from Open Heart Games. We are back with our playthrough of the Tyranny of Dragons with, unfortunately today, a little bit of bad news. We had two of our characters, our players, had to cancel last minute. Patron, aka AAA, aka, what's his actual name? Admiral Aiden Ames. Lots of AKAs for Hitohari. And then also Jabrillo Pad recently had a very positive thing happen in his life, so we're excited for him, but he's not able to make it today. So what we're probably going to do is just kind of chat about some stuff and talk about what we've got going on at Open Heart Games and what's going on in the gaming world, and tell some stories and reminisce a little bit and we can talk about the campaign and some of the cool stuff that's happened, and then we'll probably just, talk for about an hour and then call it a night. So, that being said, we have our other big fundraiser of the year coming up at the beginning of November. That is going to be Saturday, November the 4th, and we are going to be running a module out of, once again, Tales from the Yawning Portal. Love this book. If you don't have it, it's great. You can also toss lots of the modules into other things, which I'm going to talk about in a minute. We're going to be doing Sunless Citadel, and I'm very excited for that. We're actually going to be opening that up to the public. It's about half full right now. I've got 3 people who've signed up so far. And that will be open to the public starting at the end of this week. So if you'd like to sign up and you'd like to take part, we would love to have you. It helps us raise our money. Our goal this year is to raise $5,000 for Extra Life. And so far, since we launched Open Heart Games back in 2020, we have raised over $10,000 for Extra Life, and they gave us this cool coin commemorating that, which we're very, very thankful for. But that's not why we do it. We do it because we want to help out children in children's hospitals like ours in Roanoke, Carilions, part of the Children's Miracle Network Hospitals. If you'd like to donate to Extra Life, you can go right here, which helps out our players, but more importantly, goes to help provide life-saving services to the children in the children's hospital. You can go to extra-life.org/team/open-heart-games, and you can donate any amount you'd like. If you can only afford $5, donate $5, $10, however much you want. All of it helps. All of it's appreciated. So there. So how's everyone doing? How's everyone's world doing?
Good. I can't complain. I started doing Pokemon Kaizo runs last night, which basically is the most absurd way to play the old mainstream games. The rules are seemingly unfair, but not quite impossible to do. And it's been a lot of fun.
So are you doing the one where it's like you I know I've seen one of the I think she streams the Jaden's draws where she does a Kaizo of Pokemon where you can all right, your first Pokemon is, throws it out and it's like Mewtwo, and then you go out and fight God. That's entirely possible, that kind of thing.
It's kind of so. The only Pokemon you only get one Pokemon at a time. So it's typically the starter. You might be able to pivot early, and then the only way you can get XP is by battling trainers. You can't kill wild, and everyone is harder. Everything's kind of randomized, and to put it into perspective, I did 42 runs last night. I escaped Professor Oak's lab 12 times.
Very nice.
Yeah, it's pretty nuts. I've seen some streamers hit 6,000 runs before they actually finish it.
I'm fully prepared. I'm fully prepared for that endeavor. So Monday nights are my Kaizo nights. Sometimes on Wednesday, but definitely every Monday. So if you are ever interested, twitch.tv.com or twitch.tv/mage_07. 9 p.m. Eastern, so just an hour later than what we do here. And Kaizo's on Monday. So it was fun. It's all I want to do. It's all I wanted to do today. So you know you're doing something right.
Yeah, there you go. I have started my one of the memes that I've seen online about Baldur's Gate is it's the only game where you start planning what you're going to do in your next playthrough during your current playthrough. It has been magical. I love that game. It is so much fun. There's always, it feels like there's something new and exciting and fun to like explore and do. And it just feels, like I know I've talked about it a lot on the stream, but like it feels like one of the most faithful capturings of Dungeons and Dragons out there today. I have started 3 playthroughs so far. So my first playthrough, surprising absolutely no one, is a druid. My second playthrough, I decided to make an interesting challenge. One of the coolest things about the game, and I will eventually stream it here on the thing. I want to do some stream because I think it'd be a lot of fun to stream Baldur's Gate. But I want to get one playthrough done so I can just like have enjoyed it and then like go back through and stream it. But anyway, I digress. The second playthrough, I was like, what would be a fun challenge? So I made a paladin. And I made you can play as the main custom characters, or sorry, the main characters: Lae'zel, Gale, Asterion, Shadowheart, Karlach. I feel like I'm missing one, and Will. And so you can play as all those characters, and then there's one secret one that they announced like very late in like development, which is the Dark Urge. And so I'm playing a Dark Urge Nature Paladin, and I'm really excited to play through that and see how it goes, because I'm definitely going to like try to resist the Dark Urge and see how it goes. I want to try and not give into it and see what happens. And then last night, I made a light cleric, because clerics are cool. We have a light cleric in one of the campaigns that we're running. We've transitioned from Spelljammer to kind of like homebrew Spelljammer, and that character's a lot of fun. Mages in that campaign.
That character is quite fun.
Oh yeah, yep. Yeah, I will share his name on the stream, and I'll give him a shout out. Sniffy Sootbeard is a very funny character.
Yep.
So I made those 3 characters. Again, surprising no one. All of them are elves, because I think elves are cool. They're my favorite species in Dungeons and Dragons. I don't know. I think honestly, deep down in my heart of hearts, like I'd love to be like, yes, like I'm an elf. I'm not. I'm a hobbit through and through. But like I just like if an elderly wizard wizard were to like whisk me off to Rivendell, and I was able to like interact with elves like Bilbo Baggins did, or Frodo, like that would be the coolest thing, right? Just to be, I just want to be able to, tend to my garden and kind of just generally be kind of left to my own devices and, live life and have 6 meals a day. I do like to eat. I do. We had a very good dinner tonight too.
So you're a 6'3" elf or a hobbit?
I think in my heart of hearts I'm a hobbit. I really do.
Oh, okay. Because you're like 2 hobbits or
yes.
3.
At
least 2.
Listen, Dave. And you know me for a long time. What you don't know is that secretly I'm just 3 hobbits in a trench coat.
I see.
Hence the height,
So that explains a lot of things.
It sure does, doesn't it? Although I have, like, ever since I saw the art in Icewind Dale, I have wanted to see if there's a GM out there that will let me roleplay as I will use the stats of a Dragonborn, but I want to roleplay as literally 3 kobolds in a trench coat, because I think that's hilarious. And I'd just be like, all right, I am a Dragonborn, and if my character is knocked unconscious, what happens is the one that's the head is knocked over and the other 2 scatter, right? And then like them healing is healing the head, and him being like, get back here, and then they like get back in the trench coat and like stand back up, and just see how long that I could keep, but without revealing it to the party, just see how long I could keep that ruse up before getting knocked unconscious and like kind of revealing and spilling the secret. I think that would be hilarious. Yeah. So. Also, like Icewind Dale's fun, but anyways, go ahead.
One time in a one shot I was running, I stacked 3 goblins in a trench coat.
That's awesome.
And it just kind of like hobbled over really slowly, and then they eventually hit it and it knocked them down because they like took out the middle goblin and the other 2 fell prone, and they were like, it was pretty funny because they didn't realize I was doing it.
So one of the fun things I love. So I was actually having there's a discussion online that was going on between like I'm in like a ton of different Facebook groups, and one of the Facebook groups that I'm in is like I'm in several like Dungeons and Dragons like Dungeon Master prep ones, and one of the other game masters asked the very poignant, very interesting question, which I'd love to pose to y'all: where does Rule of Cool end and Rules Lawyer begin? Right? And that's an interesting question. It's definitely loaded. But, like, at what point does that happen? And I think my personal philosophy is, like, I'm always, like, at the top is, like, fun, and then story, and then rules is at the bottom. So, like, the player's fun, if the players are having fun, just a ton of fun interacting with, like, the NPCs. They're having fun exploring their backstories, doing side quests, doing, you know, shopping or things that I find tedious. Then like we should spend that time doing those things. If they're not a combat heavy group, then maybe we need to do more role play, you know, or if they're a combat heavy group and they're not into whole talking, maybe we just need to shorten the amount of talking and then just get into, you know, more combat, more strategy, and more of that kind of stuff. So I think like there's definitely like a balance to be struck there when it comes to like those kind of tiers of that. But like one of the things that I really like is using magical items for things they are not intended for at all. So one of the campaigns I played in was 3.5. It was my friend's homebrew campaign, and I was playing as a character, and we were attacking this, like, we were in a castle, and there was a tower, and the character that I was playing had these boots that let him jump really, really high. So, they were kind of like boots of striding spring, but, like, more focused on, like, jumping, like almost like moon boots. And so I used the boots to, like, jump over to the top of this tower, and then as I landed, I used another charge to push down and, like, try to collapse the tower. And the game master was like, that's cool, do it. And so I did, and I was just like, you know, like, those kinds of things are, like, really cool, to be able to just, you know, use a thing for not its intended thing. Or a feat or an ability. Does anyone else have anything like that?
What, using things unconventionally?
Yeah.
No. I'm not that creative. But going back to the question though, for me, rules are a means to provide consistency.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're going to go with Rule of Cool, it's important that you treat all of your party members fairly in letting them all have that cool moment. Because the last thing you want is, like, Rule of Cool someone for X reason, and then later on down the road, another player wants to do Y, but for whatever reason you don't want to allow it. Like, no, if you're gonna Rule of Cool, make sure you remain consistent in that Rule of Cool. Because, like, even Rule of Cooling, like, that's a rule. Like, to waive the rules is kind of like a rule in of itself. So for me, rules are a foundation to create consistency, so that the experience is fair and similar for everyone. And we're not playing favorites, and we're not doing, unless we all want to do outrageous things, we're not letting just one character just run away and get away with whatever they want.
Yep. And that is a very good point, and a very delicate, like, you know, like, a very delicate like thing to balance is like making sure that if you're going to break a rule, as Mage said, you have to break it consistently. Now there are times like if you break a rule and then you break a rule and then you find someone and someone finds something that's just an absolute exploit, just
that's different.
Yeah, tell them. Have those conversations with your players. But anyways,
exploits are different than what we're typically going for. But even hand waving, saying that this is not going to be part of the experience. None of us here. We've been playing this particular session, this particular campaign, for over a year and a half, almost 2 years, ish. We have our party has sat down to eat exactly like 2 times this entire time. Like, we are not, and hats off to the ones that do like the crunchy realistic. I need to keep track of rations and things like that. But like, hand waving comes into play as well. Is like, got to be consistent with it. If you're gonna hand wave, this aspect of this particular item or this particular set of rules, it's important to make sure that it remains consistent across all the players' experiences and what they want out of the campaign.
Yeah, I think trying to quantify this. Yeah, I think like what you said is absolutely true. Is consistency is absolutely key, and also like communication, like communicating with your players.
So ultimately, where does rule of Kula end, and where does rule lawyering begin? Rule lawyering begins when you want to prevent players from doing what they want to do. When you want to prevent them from wanting to have fun. Now there are reasons, and we talked about them. It's like, no, you're not gonna sit like as a monk. Technically, all I need is an hour.
Yeah.
So they're like the entire party is off. Riding horse, but like we're all on the horseback. Everyone's doing the party's working really hard, and me as the monk, I'm laying low on the trolley. Like, all right, I get a short rest. None of the other party does. So that's where things get nitpicky and things like that.
Yeah
I think that like one of the things that I was doing with one of my recent campaigns, and I didn't really think about it, was I had a paladin and a battle master, or what is it, a protection paladin maybe, I don't know, whatever the one is that they can use their shield to knock back for 5 feet.
Mm-hmm.
And then I had a battle master fighter in my group, and the paladin kept being like, I want to use my shield to like bash this guy back and knock him down, knock him prone. And I was like, okay, it's kind of doing the same thing. It didn't really matter too much, and so I was letting him kind of do it. But I didn't realize until like very soon after, where my battle master was like, I've taken combat maneuvers to knock things prone. Like, how is he doing that when he's just like saying he's doing it with an attack roll? So when I do like with the rule of cool and that kind of stuff, like I don't remember what we decided with that. I think once I explained, I was like, well, I mean, he knocks him back 5 feet and they're not getting up. Like, it's not affecting really the combat at all. So
gotcha.
But that's the only time I can really even think that like letting the players do whatever they wanted really has backfired too much, because it took away from the enjoyment of someone else.
Yeah.
Because like instead, like, I mean, as long as like I think Mage said it, where it's like give everyone the opportunity. Oh, you want to do something crazy too? Okay. If it gets too crazy, I make them roll for it. And it's like, if you okay, fine. You want to pull out a lasso and catch someone before they fall into a pit? Roll for it. Like,
Yeah.
if you roll good enough, I don't care if you're able to do that or not. But
I absolutely agree.
Yeah.
One of the things in this particular campaign that, in my opinion, is a problem is Hazaron. Hazaron as a weapon is so strong, because it's a great sword. So if you have like a great weapon master like fighter, if you allow them to attune to it, they're rolling so let's say that they have an 18 strength by level 5, right? So you have an 18 strength, they have a +7 to hit, and I think, is Hazaron? I'm gonna look up the stats, so I'm not just paraphrasing things. Sword. Okay. All right, so it's a great sword. It also gives a +1 to hit. And if you're attuned, the attack, the +2 hit. So they're at a +7. So they're at a +9 to hit base, right? At level 5. And the hit deals an extra 2d6 necrotic damage. And so it's a weapon that deals 46 necrotic damage. It prevents them from regaining hit points, which means they can't heal themselves. And then it also gives you, so just that, and then it also gives you access to 3 spells that they likely would not have access to otherwise, which is Detect Magic, Detect Evil and Good, and Detect Thoughts. Like, that is a legendary weapon. It is a good weapon for, like, I think you're level 8. I think y'all were level 8 when you got to the Flying Castle and you fought Rezmir and took this from her. But, like, I had my first playthrough of this, I had a great weapon master fighter who used this and used the the ability to their power attack, basically, where they could take a minus to hit to do more damage, and he was just one-shotting just everything I put in front of him. He was just one-shotting everything. I mean, he was able to take ogres out in 2 swings, which is a ton of damage. So what I have done is just kind of turned the knob on this. And what I know I've told you all and all of my players is like, hey, if something gets out of hand, we may have to, dial it back a little bit, because I never want to have to dial up, never want to have to dial up the deadliness, because that feels bad for the players that don't have optimized characters or whatever. But yeah, because you always want to challenge your players and make it feel like the fights actually matter. But you never want to have like a situation where the players are like, this is trivial, it's whatever. So, but I've definitely Hazaron, other weapons like that. We were in a campaign once, and we now have the Curse of the Staff of the Woodlands, where Wall of Thorns is incredibly powerful, and Major's in this campaign, and I was just like, hey, if you would, all the other spells that you have access to are fine, but if you could not, use this one, please. That would be swell.
Well, you didn't have to worry. I didn't even use it. I died.
Yep. So, yeah, I think that was one of the rougher dungeons that I've run, because it's underwater, which is hard enough as it is. And then it just has a lot of traps and a lot of monsters to fight. So it's not as bad as Death House.
You take out the water. It's still challenging, but it's not
as bad.
Impossible.
Yeah, and it's also cold
fair.
Too.
Yeah, it's cold. It's cold.
Which you're taking.
Spell.
Yeah.
Your spellcasters traditionally, they're taking fireball. So to throw water into the equation,
Yep. And we had a fireball wizard too, and he was struggling because everything has resistance to fire if it's in water.
We had already gotten beaten up. This wasn't a fresh encounter. So immediately all the monsters had blood frenzy and were doing advantage on us. right off the bat. It wasn't even like we had the attempt to, dodge an attack, because right off the bat they were doing damage roll. They were doing advantage rolls. So like going back, if we could do it over, or if people are listening, that water temple in Rhyme, just ignore the water part. Everything else is fair. It's a challenge. It's a challenging endeavor in general. But hand wave the water portion of it. It's just a very, very cold temple with shark people.
With shark people. Were they Sahagin?
I don't remember.
Feel like the answer's yes.
I tried to black that out.
Yeah.
Oh, they had... Yeah, not only did they have Blood Frenzy, but they also had multi-attack.
Oh, yeah. Well, everything in D&D has multi-attack.
Everything in Indeed. But also Blood Frenzy. So it was already, taking its 2 swings with advantage before we even really got a chance to get into it.
I got to do the fun thing as a druid, which is we were doing a water encounter. I think I talked about this, and I got to summon a bunch of sharks, and that felt really good. Like, because you never get to summon the cool aquatic creatures, like, almost never. And so when I saw my chance, I was like, I'm not going to miss this shot. Yeah, sharks! And I summoned, like, 4 reef sharks, because that's the CR you can do. Although, I will say, casting Wall of Wolves feels really good as a druid. I'm just like, here's 8 wolves. You just, like, line them up, and you're just like, here they are. Here's an entire wall of fur, fangs, and teeth. So, what about you, Mordock? You got any stories for us?
I'm not sure how I could top those.
Oh no, we're not even a competition. It can be anything.
Boy, this was back in first edition.
Love it.
We were running, of course, where you had a first level mage that had 1 hit point. We were, I don't know. It was a group of friends, and we were running a kind of a West March style campaign, but it was the same 5 people. We just had different characters all the time. But we decided we're going to get all our characters together. So we had each one of us had 3 or 4 characters. Our poor GM, he accepted the challenge, and we had to go wax a castle. So we got to lay siege to a castle. We had army units. We had characters all over the place, ranging from 3rd level to 12th or 13th. It was pretty cool when you're running 3 characters each. The GM was pulling his hair out, but like I said, he accepted. And one of my characters was a druid. We thought, well, how are we going to get into this castle? So I summoned the dreaded call lightning spell and blasted the gate and blew a hole in it, and then we said, okay, we're going to send our cavalry through the main gate, and all of a sudden the main gate goes black. Somebody cast darkness spell on it from the inside. In goes the cavalry. Inside the darkness, blade barrier.
Oh!
Oh! Oops, our GM was pretty... He's like, I'm going to play as smart as you guys play. It's like, oopsie. But that was a really cool thing. That took us probably 4 or 5 sessions to take out a castle, because we were, like I said, we had little infantry units. Okay, here I get this little squad of 10 soldiers, and 2 of my characters over here, my 1 characters over here, and it was cool. Trying to paratroop into the castle with we're flying and we're gonna land inside. It's like lots of character deaths. We had a lot of characters die. But we were running if you don't know what a West March style campaign is, go look it up. There's lots of groups. It's pretty cool if you can get in one.
And Matt Colville has a if you're looking for a video, Matt Colville has a video that describes how all of it works. So
yeah, it's pretty cool because the players kind of decide what's going on, and so as a GM, you're like, okay, what are we doing next? And they kind of tell you, so that you get to. It's basically they're designing the campaign for you. So that's kind of cool, and the different groups. So if I'm in Group A and we're gonna go over here to this, crypt, and we find stuff, and we come back. Someone else could go to the crypt after us and steal all the good stuff because we couldn't finish it. Like, oh, that sucks. So.
Very nice. Yeah.
Of course, there's always the Gift Eater 2000, which is a real cool thing. Getting back to that, but that wasn't. Yeah, but that wasn't game breaking.
Yeah.
I mean, it was cool. We got it. I remember, and then what was our big robot's name? Bastion. We couldn't get him through the passageways, and
oh my gosh,
we could have tried to rule. Yeah. What I can't remember is Bastion. Was that his name?
Bastion was the druid.
Yeah. Okay. We had the.
I'm trying to see. I'm actually going to go open that campaign and see what it was called. Because I never delete my old campaigns.
Yeah. And we tried to get the Guardian Defender thing that was
the Shield Guardian.
Large. Yeah, the Shield Guardian through these little passages. You wouldn't let us, and that was cool that you didn't let us because he kind of really overbalanced us.
It's very strong. Yeah.
Yeah, very strong.
I mean, I'll be honest with you, with where you were in Castle Ravenloft, if you had continued and been like, we're going to force him through here, I would have been like, all right, cool. And we would have found a point in the castle that we would have had to reenact the scene from Terminator 2. The thumbs up and everything. Nope, that's done now. We're moving on. So, I will say I love... Good.
You got to be careful with roll call, because it can break the whole scenario, because again, you get into, well, you set precedent. I was allowed to do this, 3 levels ago, and now I'm more powerful and I can't do it now. So you got to be a little careful with it. It's got to be a one-off thing that doesn't have real big game changing consequences.
Yeah. Yeah, and I will say, for those things where, like, I mean, my philosophy on role-playing, and games in general, is everyone is there to have fun, and the GM included. And you should have those conversations with your players where you're like, hey, if something feels unbalanced for a character or for me, like, we'll redo it. Like, I've definitely hotfixed stuff where I'm like, all right, we're doing the strong encounter, and I've turned up the death dial, and then, like, I turned it up too much, and I'm like, oh no, one of them runs away, or was an illusion, or whatever, because it was just too strong. But, like, keeping that on there, always cheat in favor of the story. I believe that wholeheartedly.
Our Guardian was named Sir Tharrington.
Yep, I found it too. Yep, Sir Tharrington. That's him. Big old shield guardian. Yeah. That's a fun campaign. So before I forget, Night Divinity has a story that they shared. I remember 3.5, there was a bag of furballs. You grabbed one, and it could be a tiger, a lion, a leopard. Also had a bunch of small, like, house cats and stuff. It was fun. That exists in 5th edition. It's a bag of tricks, where you can just, like, reach in and throw out a furball, and it turns into a creature. I played in a campaign that was a very dungeon crawly campaign, and we didn't have a rogue, but we did have a bag of tricks, and let's just say that those poor creatures. That's all I will say, because they definitely found all of the traps, and because we didn't have a rogue to find it, so.
Yeah. I remember another one, and Bill Wilkerson was our GM. We were doing Temple of Elemental Evil. And I think, it's terrible that I remember this, I think the village outside or on the way there, I think it was called Hamlet, I think.
Are you talking about the new one in 5th edition?
No, this was way
original?
back.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Red Mark,
original,
I think, is the one.
Yeah. I can't remember what it was, but our druid somehow charmed or animal friendshiped like every domestic cat in this village, and he had a herd, and it was the rule of cool, he had a herd of like 100 domestic cats that he was doing animal friendship shit with and sending them out on little missions, and it was like, oh, this is ridiculous. This is terrible.
In the
because you could do
yeah,
a lot of damage with 100 domestic cats.
Yeah, 100. Just 100 damage, one cat at a time.
Yeah. Yep.
Night Divinity says, good.
Yeah, they were dying by, we got attacked by giant rats, of course, and then by more giant rats, just to whittle down the cat population.
Wow.
As Bill tried to fix his, I shouldn't have given you that.
Night Divinity says, my absolute favorite magical item is the Quiver of Elona. Love that. Here's a question. What is one of your favorite magical items that you just love?
I thought you'd never ask. Because I homebrewed the funniest item that I think I could have made. And it's called a Kappa's Head Bowl.
Okay.
So, are you all familiar with a Kappa and its work?
So, I am, but for those listening at home.
So, Kappa is a fey creature that's from Japanese lore. He's like a toad kind of guy with a divot in his head.
Or a turtle sometimes, I think.
Yeah, it's like a turtle. It's got a beak. And it's got a turtle shell. I said toad, didn't I? I meant tortoise. Okay. Yeah. I was like, what? Yeah. But it's got like a beak. It's got this divot in its head that's filled with water. And it's like hides under bridges, and it'll pop out and sumo wrestler people. And it also harvests an imaginary organ out of people's bodies through their rectum.
Gross.
Yeah, like it's a really funny thing, and it loves cucumbers.
Weird.
So I had a guy in my game. He said that it's his first time playing, brand new player, and he was like, I want to be part of a cucumber guild. And I was like, what is that? And he's like, just like a bunch of farmers of cucumbers. And I was like, oh, I'm definitely introducing a Kappa then. And so he finally got visited with one, and pulled this up. I'll link it there in chat because I published it. So created this item that supernaturally, it's a bowl that he attaches to his head. It's filled with water. And he's a bard, and it's his first time playing, so he hasn't really been feeling like he's been contributing as much because he has picked some weird spells and stuff. But essentially it gives him like 12 strength, advantage on grapples, underwater breathing, but it's permanently stuck on his head. And if someone can force the water out of it, and he'll become immobile like an actual Kappa.
That's awesome.
And it's like this really goofy item that I made, and I was like, I need to share this with the world. Because
wow, that's awesome. I'm glad I asked.
Yeah. So that was the first magic item. I was like, I bet we're going to talk about magic items, and I'm sharing this one because this is
that's fantastic. That's cool.
Yeah, it gives bless for I did 30 minutes. I think that's a little overkill because it probably just needs to be 1 minute.
Yeah,
so it's like,
probably true.
But he's not doing it. He hasn't used it yet, like to prepare for a fight. But he'll like do it in the middle of a fight, and he'll like come over, and I let him for a bonus action be like, I'm gonna walk over to this person and take off my head bowl and let them take a sip of the water out of it to gain bless.
Yep.
And I'm like, okay, that's cool. Go for it. It's silly. It's a little bit overpowered, but like at the same time, it's like it's funny that he. I was like, you have to be in melee for it. So
we were playing
works out.
D20 Modern, which is a 3.5 deal, and the story was that it was post-apocalyptic. The story that the GM had given us was the Mayan calendar had come to had come to a close. Ragnarok and every apocalyptic thing had happened. the gods went to war, and the only ones left standing in the dust of this like cataclysmic thing, the first god to like regain consciousness or come back up was the god of undeath, and immediately was like, get up. And so the entire world was infested with zombies, and the few humans that survived, my character as well, the few characters that survived had been like hyper evolved, so like developed abilities almost like superheroes, because their bodies were just like, this is all supernatural, this is all crazy. They'd also been like suffused with all of this magic from all of these like dying gods and everything. And I played as a scion, which are like psychics, and that character was a lot of fun. And one of the things I got introduced to that some GMs do that I really like are like character items, or much like in Critical Role, like Vestiges of Divergence, where you have an item that just like, here is the item. It is weak now, but as you do heroic things in the future, it will become stronger and stronger and stronger and stronger until it's eventually this epic level thing. So the item is a thing that is personal to you, because like, unless your GM works with you on this, but like, if I, had a character whose, grandfather had this sword, and I was just like, this sword's important to me, and then later on I pick up a +1 sword, like suddenly that sword that I had previously isn't as special, right? Or like, if later on I pick up a flame tongue longsword, that's going to be a lot more powerful. Now, obviously, like, you're a game master, like, you should work with your player. If your player has a thing where they're just like, I'm, obviously this is edgelord stuff, but like, I'm the last of my clan, this blade is, the blade that my people have carried, and therefore, like, I'm trying to carry on the tradition, like, almost like the last Ronin or whatever, that kind of story. Like, try to work with your character, your players, to like do that. So instead of maybe fighting, maybe they find a piece of something that they can put onto their sword or whatever. Knight Divinity said, grows with you, and I did that a few times when they DM'd. Yeah, absolutely. I think character items are really cool. They can also become very broken, and also I like the fact that in Dungeons and Dragons 5th edition there are character focused items that exist. For example, like, one of my favorites is, I'm going to tell my favorite here in a minute, and I'll explain why. One of my favorites is, I like the, what's the item that you have, Mordok? The, Amulet of Faith?
Hold on.
Amulet of the Vow. Yep. That, and like the Moon Sickle, the Moon Sickle for druids that allows them to heal a little bit better and increases your spell DC. Like, those are cool. There's another one for warlocks. Warlocks lets you use a charge and regain a spell slot. So those are all really, really cool. I like those kinds of things. But I want to ask, Mage, what is your favorite magical item?
I'm a big fan of the Bag of Tricks. It plays into my chaos, my inner chaos gremlin. I like it when you can work it out with the DM to customize what's inside bag.
Yep.
Because you still have to roll for it, but like, well, unless the DM hand waves the dice roll and says, "Hey, for the sake of the story, let's do this." Because here's the example: I was in our first charity campaign.
Oh, is this? I know where you're going, and I'm not going to say anything. Yeah. I think it was one of the charity marathons.
I think it was definitely the charity marathon. It might have been the first one. Yeah. I played a variant of Loki because the TV show, which by the way, the new season's out and it's wonderful. Yeah. The show had just came out, and variant Lokis were officially canon. And so I made my own that lived in the realm of D&D. And so it was a cleric and a warlock. Cleric and a warlock. Patron was to itself. because who else would be a great patron to Loki than Loki himself? So my bag of tricks included an alligator, and for the sake of for the kids, I'm not gonna say for the sake of the story. For the kids, we summoned alligator Loki, and another variant version. If you haven't seen the show, alligator Loki is a real thing.
Yep.
And so it's really cool to be able to customize, what goes into the bag, work it out with your DM, and then either still roll or let the DM go, you know what? Yep, you grab that. You conveniently grab that specific fur ball to summon that specific animal. So, but the bag of tricks is just so fun.
Was it Curse of Strahd, or there was some campaign that the first pull was a boar, and the second pull was a weasel, and we just decided that it was Timon and Pumbaa.
Yes, it was Curse of Strahd, and it was not my bet. I did not have that bag of tricks. It was Brad's character had that bag of tricks.
Yep.
We had a boar and a weasel, conveniently named Timon and Pumbaa. They rode around together. It was adorable.
Yep.
Pumbaa
put in some work. Timon didn't, but you know what? He tried.
Yeah, Timon was there.
Yep. Timon definitely existed, for sure. So, what about you, Mordock? What's your favorite magical item?
I'm more into the mundane utilitarian magic items. I can't live without a bag of holding.
Bag of holding's really good.
Yeah, and I don't even know if this is in 5e, but I remember it came in very handy in first edition. Was something called the Necklace of Adaptation.
Oh yeah, it still exists.
Okay.
Yeah.
Which in first edition was great because poison was save or die.
Yeah.
Mostly. So you want, poison gas. Okay, never mind. I don't have to worry about that. And you could do wonderful things with an immovable rod. Those were always cool.
Yep.
I mean, Vorpal swords are nice, but they just kind of overbalance things. Growing up in D&D, the campaign we ran was kind of low magic, so getting just a +1 sword was a big deal. But the utilitarian magic items I actually like a little better than having a Vorpal sword, because everybody can be cool with a Vorpal sword. How can you not be? So
it's true. So I have a couple, but I think and I'll reveal what my favorite is in a minute. I like the Deck of Many Things because it goes back to what Major's saying. It's random, and it's crazy powerful random. So crazy powerful random that we're getting a new Deck of Many Things, which is going to be really cool. And I'm really looking forward to that. I also think that the Cloak of Displacement's really neat, because I think Displacer Beasts are really neat. But I'm going to have to go with the Decanter of Endless Water as my favorite magical item. I just think it's cool. And I like the lore too, where it's just like, this is a let's see if I actually have it. In previous editions, they actually put this Decanter. There it is. Yeah, so they don't have it in this version, but in previous editions of Dungeons and Dragons, the reason why it is an endless decanter of water is because it literally has a little portal into it that opens to the plane of water. And so it just like you could say geyser, and it would start, producing 30 gallons of water a minute, take the decanter of endless water, throw it into a desert, and just leave. And then you could come back and there would be an oasis, or a lake, or maybe even just empty out into the ocean. You always have fresh water. You can make salt water if you want to. And then the geyser ability is just cool, where you can just be like, pew! And just like, it makes a 30-foot long, 1 foot wide geyser and then you can force them to make strength saves. You can put out, fires with it. Like, it's just a neat little item. It's not overly powerful. It's an uncommon item. Like, it's just cool. So that's my favorite. So and
in that vein, you can also get like an ever smoking bottle, which are cool.
Yeah.
I've seen those are my favorite kind of magic items because you can kind of do neat things with them, and they're not super overpowering.
Yeah. I played as a drow in one of the campaigns with our friends on the Shirok stream team, and got to use darkness to good effect. Because, like, we went into this room, and there was a bunch of archers, and I was just like, darkness right there on top of your entire face. No arrows, thank you. And then they had to, like, back up and then, like, walk around the darkness. And by that time, like, all of their friends had been eviscerated because we were all evil. But yeah, like, Ever-Smoking Bottle also does similar things. But yeah. Yeah, it's a good one. Yeah, yep. All right, one question. What spell do you like that you feel like doesn't get enough screen time? You like the spell and you want to like the spell, but you never seem to cast it enough, or it never seems to have enough of an effect. Because I have definitely one. Or ability.
Eldritch Blast.
Huh?
Eldritch Blast.
Never gets its time to shine.
Never.
Toll of the Dead.
Toll the Dead, yeah. I think that Toll the Dead is too strong. I would change it. And this is what I would change it to. It would be this spell does a d6 damage base, and then if it's missing hit points, move it up to a d10. I think that's fine. But like d8 to d12, like there's just and also it's a rare save too. Wisdom. Like, wisdom is not a common save for monsters. Like, that's rough, right? It's, like, there is almost no reason to take Sacred Flame. Because you're already, like... It's just not as good. It just isn't. Like, Radiant damage is good against undead. So, like, there's that whole argument for sure. But yeah. Any other ones that we wish were better or want to see more of? I definitely have one.
I'm not a spellcaster. None of my like. My characters have spells on accident.
Have spells on accident. There you go. What about you, Relic?
I found one that I want to cast, and maybe we'll get to cast this campaign. But Mighty Fortress.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, I'm gonna summon a base here that just fight things.
I also like for that same thing. I like Druid's Grove.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think that there's probably going to be more of that. I think with the new rules that they're bringing out for building bases.
Yeah.
Like, I think that'll. I don't know. I guess there's part of me that really does want to run a war game, but
yeah,
it's just really hard to feel like a hero and run a war game at the same time. So
yeah, and it's hard because most of Dungeons and Dragons is someone running to you and saying, "Hero, help!" It's almost the meme of like, like, "Hero,
yep.
help me! My sheep have run amok. Please, will you go over there and get them?" And it's like, why would I ever leave my castle? No.
Right.
Like those, like, I am glad that those spells exist, but like most campaigns will never make use of them. Rarely will they ever make use of them. Like an 8th level spell that makes a thing. Yeah, casting the same spot once every 7 days. Man, that's... God, y'all wizards are so much stronger. Let me break this down real quick. Casting the spell on the same spot once every... Oh, okay, that's fine.
For a year.
Once every 7 days for a year. That's
yeah.
fine. Okay, the reason why is... And let's look real quick. What's the material component? Oh, okay, never mind. All right, Druid's better for this particular one. 500 gold piece diamond, which the spell consumes. Hang on, I gotta crunch some numbers. All right, so 500 times 52, because that's how many weeks are in a year. So 26,000 gold. 26,000 gold. All right, hang on. A gold piece is worth. Oh, that's quite a bit. We'll use that. Times. Is it 2,000? Yeah, about 2,000. 2,000. Okay, so just so we're clear, if wizards were real, and you wanted to have a castle, and you were going to use real gold and have the value of actual gold. This castle for a year, you would have to spend $52 million in order to have it, which sounds about right for a castle. So, well done.
It's not even that big.
Yeah, it is not that big.
20 feet by 30 feet. It's, let's see, 120 feet on each side.
Let me see if I can find.
And then the there's 20 feet by 30 foot turrets on each corner.
So this is a 6th level spell. For Druid Grove is 2 levels lower. Casting time 10 minutes. You have to touch the area. It is a 90-foot cube. Buildings and other structures are not affected by it. The coolest thing about this is the entire warded area radiates magic. If someone casts Dispel Magic on the area, it only removes one of the effects. And so here are the 3 effects that you can have, and then there's also additional effects you can have. So there's 6 total effects you can have. The first is you can create solid fog that makes the area heavily secured. And movement costs extra feet to move through. The second is Grasping Undergrowth. So you can fill 5-foot squares on the ground that are not filled with fog with grasping weeds and vines, and they become affected by as if the Entangle spell. And then the best, Grove of Guardians. You animate up to 4 trees in the area and cause them to uproot themselves from the ground, and have the statistics of an awakened tree, which is they are no slouch in combat. They can't speak. They can also feel around. I think they all have blind sight. They have to. Almost certain. It doesn't even say. I feel like they're... Oh, hang on. Senses. Just passive perception. Never mind. They can't see. That's weird. Apparently they just grow eyes somehow. But yeah, they do... They have a slam attack. It does... It's plus 6 to hit, 3d6 plus 4, and they have 60 hit points. So you get those 3 effects, and then also you can choose, one additional one, which is Gust of Wind in 2 locations to push stuff away, Spike Growth on 1 location of your choice, and then or also Wind Wall in 2 locations of your choice to prevent stuff from happening. So it's just a really neat spell, but you have to cast it. Let's see, where is it? If you cast it every day in the same area for an entire year, the spell lasts until it's dispelled. So it's cool.
Does it come with servants that feed you though?
It sure doesn't, but nature provides. Mistletoe. So this, I think it has one of the most specific and therefore coolest spell components, which doesn't matter because you don't have to it doesn't have a magic cost. But I would absolutely be listen, player, you must go do this because it's cool, and I will make sure that you have the time to do it. So this is it consumes this. Okay, it consumes. Mistletoe, which the spell consumes, that was harvested with a golden sickle under the light of the full moon. It's so specific.
Well, in first edition, if you were a druid, I think almost every one of your spells took mistletoe as a spell component, and you didn't have to have it, but then it was like half effective. But if you harvested it at this time, it was like 75% effective, but if you used a golden sickle under the full moon, then you got like bonuses for your mistletoe. Most GMs just ignored that because it's like, yeah, right, we're going to keep track of all that nonsense. Oh, but that was one of the original things with druids, was they had to have mistletoe for almost everything.
Yep. And druids can't wear metal armor. Forgot about that. That's a thing. Most GMs don't care, but eventually does care. But it's fine. I mean, that particular thing doesn't usually bother me because I play elves and they have high dex, and I usually just, the best I want is like studded leather. It's kind of the best for me because it's a +5, and so I can get, or +2, +3, and plus a shield. Gets me to like 17, which isn't too shabby for an armor class. But anyways, yeah. So yeah, those are. So, is there any spells that you wish we got more screen time, Mordock? Or that you enjoy?
The way we run campaigns, none of the, like, we just talked about the castle building spells. Mm-hmm. Any of the spells that okay, here's I'm going to aspire to have a domain. So any of those spells never get any time in most campaigns because people are out killing monsters all the time. Mm-hmm. And the goal is how fast can I get to the next level? It's a rare campaign where, okay, I'm 7th level and I'm going to be 7th level for the next 10 sessions, and I'm, as the players, we're okay with that.
Yeah.
Most it's like, okay, come on, we've been doing this, like, when do we advance to the next level? So you don't have that any of the town people interaction spells just don't get a lot of game time anymore in anybody's campaign. I mean, not in anybody's. I suppose if you have the right group and the right GM that don't mind a campaign running for 5 or 10 years, good luck finding a player base or a GM that's going to do that. I had one years ago that we did that it was really cool, but none of those kind of spells get hardly any use at all. And players tend to forget that the scrying spells are really powerful.
Yep.
And so they don't get a lot of screen time because it doesn't pop into their head that they can use a divination spell until you play with a divination wizard and see how awesome he really is.
Yeah. It's true. It's very true.
Because divination wizards are super cool.
They are very cool. They are very that. So, but yeah, I think for me the spell that I wish got more screen time, because I think it's just neat, in addition to what we had already said for sure, is Gust of Wind. I feel like it's I wish that it was, I wish that, the bonus action is cool. I wish it didn't have to come from you, and you could just, like, put it places, and then, like, you could push people around the battlefield a little bit more. But I think Watery Sphere probably exists for that and does a better job. But Gust of Wind, I think, is just, I wish it was just a little bit better.
The problem with Gust of Wind is it's so specific.
Yeah.
That
its use case is very narrow.
Right, and I don't want to tie up a spell slot or a known, or prepared spell with Gust of Wind that I might cast 3 times in a campaign.
Yeah, and that's the thing is, like, Gust of Wind, like,
because I know I can always cast a Fireball, right? Yeah. I'm always going to have use for that, but Gust of Wind, that's a very specific spell that I would almost have to know ahead of time that, okay, there's going to be a lot of fog, or, there's gas or something that I would have to have foreknowledge of to take that spell, because I'm not going to suck up one of my prepared spells for I might cast this maybe sometime, maybe.
Yeah.
Probably not. So I'm not going to take it because it's so specific.
In that case, might I recommend a bird person?
You just get it, right?
Yeah, it's just Yeah, it's either that or maybe something else. Let me see. Yeah, no, you just at 3rd level you get Gust of Wind as a trait.
That's sick.
Once you cast the spell, you can't do it until you finish a long rest. And then you get to choose which of your spell casting modifiers is the choice you use.
Yeah, it's one actually of the things I think is really interesting design space for Dungeons and Dragons is for example, I'm playing a Wildfire Druid. I love the fact that Revivify, Cure Wounds, Burning Hands, and Scorching Ray are automatically prepared for me, so I can take other things. Because I probably wouldn't prepare Burning Hands, but there have been a couple of times when I've been like, yeah, I can get in there and, drop Burning Hands. And also, like, your little Wildfire Familiar person, your little Wildfire Spirit that you can summon, can cast spells can cast your spells from its location, so you can, like, fly them up and then have them, like, breathe fire on it, and then on their turn, after they've run up, breathed a bunch of fire on things, their action can be disengage, and then, or they can fiery teleport away after they've gotten so close to it. Like, there's a lot of really cool things in there that you can do. 3rd level spell, Plant Growth, love that. Revivify, as I mentioned. Fire Shield, I probably would never take, but the fact that I have it prepared is really nice. Same thing with Aura of Life. I would never take that spell if I had to. But, like, having it, if we're going to fight undead, like, that's great. Just having that additional option is really cool to design space.
Yeah, I have that spell as always prepared, I think.
Yeah, yeah.
The other one that doesn't get a lot of screen time, and until we got a wizard, we haven't had a lot of wizards in our campaigns, is Levitate.
Yeah, Levitate's
because
really
good. Levitate can be really good because it can be a very powerful offensive spell.
Yeah, and it's I have used Levitate offensively, which is great. We were playing in a campaign where we're fighting against a bunch of Kuatoa in the Underdark, and my character walked up to one of them and went boop and levitated up in the air, and he just went up in the air up to the ceiling and was just like, this sucks and I hate everything. And we killed all the rest of the Kuatoa, and then he slowly floated back down and landed, and then we were like, let's have a conversation. And he was just like, that sounds like a good idea, because I had a bird's eye view of watching what you did to everyone else. And we didn't even there was like no interrogation. It was just like, yeah, he knew exactly what was going on. But yeah, I like Suggestion. That's a fun one. It's a little mind control-y, but like you points for creativity if you're able to do some crazy stuff with Suggestion.
Well, that's like any of the illusion spells are the same way.
Yep.
For me, I shy away from them because I'm not creative enough personally to use them to full advantage. But if you have somebody that's really creative, you can get some funky stuff with some of those illusion spells.
I have a character that I'm playing, which is a Moon Cleric, and the Moon Domain, which is in the Critical Role, in the Critical Role book, the new one, Teldora Reborn, which is now on D&D Beyond, by the way. If you're ever interested in that, you get Silent Image, and then at 3rd level you get Major Image, which is cool, and Hypnotic Pattern, which is really neat. And then also Hallucinatory Terrain and Greater Invisibility. Moon Clerics, Mordok, you'll like this. You can concentrate on 2 spells at once, which is really cool, but there is a restriction. They have to be the domain spells of the Moon Cleric. So your best one is probably like Greater Invisibility. Greater Invisibility is probably the right call, so you can Greater Invisibility yourself and then Greater Invisibility like someone else. Or you could like go I'm going to go ahead and, like, create this major image over here, and it's going to, you know, exist and be a dragon or whatever I need it to be. And then, like, as soon as they see you, greater invisibility yourself and move where you need to move. So, but I think concentrating on 2 spells is really cool, and we don't have enough cool stuff done in that design space yet. So, hopefully we'll see more. Well, did anyone else have anything else they wanted to talk about, or do you want to go ahead and we can cut it early?
I'm good.
All right. Well, we kind of yammered here for about an hour because we had 2 of our players down, and I definitely want for both of them to be back for this next session. So because like we're getting into like some heavier stuff, and I want to make sure everyone's here. But thank you all. Pardon me. Thank you all so much for watching us chit chat about, you know, this and that when it comes to Dungeons and Dragons. And if you like the content that we do here at Open Heart Games, you can help us out in several different ways. You can go on to our Facebook. You can also go onto our Instagram. You can check us out on YouTube. You can also check us out on our Twitch channel here. And if you would like, you can also subscribe to our Twitch channel. And you won't have to worry about any ads anymore. You get access to some cool emojis. And also, it helps support our channel. And if you have an Amazon Prime account, it's actually free for you to subscribe to us, and it goes to help support the stream. Most importantly, as I mentioned at the beginning of the stream, and I'll mention it again, we have our next charity marathon coming up in November. November 4th is that date, and we're going to be raising money for our local children's hospital, Roanoke Curlian Children's. And if you'd like to donate, you can go right here to extra-life.org/team/open-heart-games. We would really appreciate it, and all of that goes to providing life-saving treatment for children in that hospital. So, as part of the Children's Miracle Network of Hospitals. So, with that, thank you so much. Have a great night, and take heart.